Hello everyone. In this video, I want to talk about deploying a Golang application in Kubernetes, and basically I will show two examples. One with service deployment, which you can see on the screen, and another one with which is more like a backend application, which is continuously running continuously running. And also we can run it as a cron job or just a job within Kubernetes. And for both of this, I will use our KN project or code KN project, which is repository name. And you can see source code in these folders. So let's start. So, and I have some assumptions, for example, that you have some basic understanding of Kubernetes. You are familiar with command line tooling, for example. So here this K means kubectl. I have alias for this. So I assume that you have basic understanding of these commands. For example, what's git pods, how we can run like deployments. For example, I have apply. So how we can. So you are familiar at least with these commands. If you are not, Kubernetes has very good articles, documentation page. So what you need is use Kubernetes. So whatever I say, for example, when I say apply deployment, you can search Kubernetes apply deployment or just apply, and by this you will get to the deployments documentation, and you can read more than I can say within this video. So please check documentation. As I said, in this video I will be mostly focused on two examples. One is running deployments, services, which means that we can access this service from outside, so we can route some ports. And another one is deploying more backend applications. So basically, let me show you how they run, how they work, and then we can dive into the code a bit. So basically, first application, it's called Flash. It's part of the KN project. And in this application, I have very simple endpoint, REST endpoint, and we can basically check it. So on the upside, you see terminal or console for K9s. I will have another video about this tool. It's a very useful tool for Kubernetes. And I see my deployments, and the first is deployment for Flash application. I can run into the details, see log from application, and second one is profx application, which is basically a crawler for engineering articles, and I can run this curl command to see output from this Flash application. So once it's deployed to Kubernetes, I can run this. So this is my public port, and the way how I did it. So basically, I have within the project. So first of all, about the structure. Usually, I structure my project with Kubernetes. I have this folder K8s, which is quite standard, and I keep all my files in this folder. And another point is in these examples I don't use Helm chart or something so I don't use any charts, so it's pure Kubernetes configuration. And for this project, which is a simple endpoint, as you can see, it returns some data from root path. So what I do, I have this Flash deployment and Flash service. Naming is quite simple. Flash is a service name, application's name, and deployment is type of the file, the type of the configuration. And in my deployment, this is interesting part. I have metadata information like my application name, number of the replicas. In a second, we will change this and see how it affects. This is kind of scalability configuration. I have selector, so we can like on this we will have like more examples, but it's basically how this deployment select application, and we also referred to this in service part. So after all this like selector and template stuff, the interesting part starts here. So in this containers part, I have name of the application again. I have image that I use for this deployment. This is Docker image, and within the project, I keep a make file which build this image. So this is like basically how I build this image. On this part requires a bit more description. I will have another video like how you can use Docker. So if you have public Docker image, you have no problem because you can just use this one, so image name and tag. So, but since I am using private Docker Hub, so I can show you my Docker Hub. I use this like official Docker, and I have two images for now, profx and flash. And under these images, I have like a couple of versioning and etc. And as you can see, this is private. That's why I have a bit like different configuration. For public, it's different. And since it's a private, I need also this one, which means that I need to create credentials that this Kubernetes cluster can use to pull this image from my private Docker Hub. So basically, it's Docker registry. Docker Hub is like one implementation of this registry, and then like use it. So once I have this Docker configuration or image configuration in this case, I have also like image pull policy. I use pull if it's not present. We can also use always, which means that every time I deploy this deployment, apply this deployment, please pull this image. And then I have like resource limits. This limits topic is an interesting topic because as you can see, it's like another units, like it's not like pure CPU instance. Here I will also show you documentation. So Kubernetes, I think resource limits or something, where you can read more about this resource limits, what's the units of this, how you can like set them globally and etc. Please read these pages. I guess if you search a bit more, you can find like more articles on this topic. So, but simply that's all I have. And like another interesting part, since this application is a web application, for more details, please check source code. It's a Go application. And I also expose 8080 port from application, so I can show this part very quickly. So basically in my flash Go, in my command, I start, let's go this up. Yeah, I start this HTTP server, and it works on a port provided by this environment variable. And since I want to expose this image, this application to the external world, what I do, I specify the container port, like a port which is exposed by container, and then in another Kubernetes file, I specify port routing. So basically, what I say that from external world, I think this one is from external, this one we will check it in a bit. So I'm basically saying that, so since in my curl I also use 8080, so I say that from external 8080 port to the internal 8080. But let's play a bit. So if I change it to the 80, what I want to do, so I want it to work also with this port, like just by port. So now we don't have anything. So what I will do, I will apply this change. Apply, yeah, sorry, sure. First let's move to the flash, and then try to apply this, and name is flash service. Oh, okay, just F. It says it's configured. So what we can do, we can try to test it. Yeah, now you see that now when I call on a IP itself without any port information, it will still work, because what we did, we changed from 80 to 8080, which is internal port. If you want to play with it, you can also change container port and, for example, run it on, I don't know, on 8000 and route from 80 to 8000. We can check it. As I said, this source code is public in GitHub. We can play with it. So this is Flash and K8s. That's all the files I work. Just like you can also test it with Minikube, which is like a local Kubernetes. Check this source documentation. So if you want, so basically, let me a bit like give more information. If you want to have another video on Kubernetes, Minikube, how you can set up all this stuff, let me know, because since it's like quite well documented part, I skip this for this video. But let me know if you want to know more information, if you want to know more about this like local Kubernetes configuration. I have my Kubernetes from DigitalOcean. I also suggest this. It's not an advertisement. I don't get any payment from them. So basically, for this KN project, I have Kubernetes cluster. It's here, and it's quite easy to set up and use. But as you can see, it's paid. So I have like, I think, minimal configuration, and for this configuration, yeah, you can see it on the screen. I pay $30. I believe you can get a bit cheaper. I think the cheapest one is 20, but please check. But why it's useful, you can just test and then turn it off. So, and you will pay only for what you used. But anyway, let's continue. So another example, which is second example, is a bit more complicated case. So Flash application is like a simple REST endpoint, but I have another application which is a background worker. For more information on this project, please check in the description. I will put a link in this description. I have a video on this. You can check on my channel, Coder Vlogger, which is YouTube. It's published quite recently, where I share more information about the project, how it works. So I will skip it in this video and focus directly on Kubernetes part. So same here, I have this configuration for so within the project I have K8s folder, and within this folder I keep all my deployment Kubernetes configuration files. And the most important one in this case is again deployment, which is quite similar to other one with a different name, of course, and different image, because in this case we deploy another application which is profx. And in this case I also have override of Docker commands. So if you go to the Docker of this project, I believe it is this one. Let's keep both of them open. So what I have different, so in this case I have a command. So basically when you build this image, Docker image, and then run it, by default it will run this command. But if you want to override, you specify command in your Kubernetes configuration. So when you run this Kubernetes image deployment, it will run with this argument, which is basically saying, so we can see result of it. It says that run this command as a crawler. Shortly, this crawl will run this application continuously in background, this like logic of this application is like once in an hour it will try to fetch some data from internet. And since there is a database, it becomes a bit interesting. So this part is like similar. I give resource limits, so it doesn't use all the resources of my cluster, Kubernetes cluster. But for this application to work properly, I also need to provide some environment variables, for example, database, name, password, host. And another difference, so this part is like, before we dive into the password part, but there is also this image pull secrets, which specifies that for this image, it's the same with Flash application, which specifies that for this image, use this credential. And in this case, we always pull the image. Let me know if you want to know more about this, but since I am using private repository, I need to do it. And also I need to provide database login password. And for this I will not open this file, it's because it's my private one, but please check public repository for template. And also in Kubernetes, I search for secrets. So this is like the way how you can use secrets without publishing them. So please check this file, documentation. In this case, in my case, I use named secrets, and this is like secret key reference. I say that in this secret, get this key. In this secret, get this key, and it will be used as a value for this environment variable. So basically, like just to summarize, so this is like simple environment variable when you have name and value. So this is name of the environment variable, and this is value. But in case of username and password, I say that this is name of the variable, environment variable, and this is how you get its value. And value is in secrets. So, and that's a Kubernetes way of getting these secrets. And why I do it, because in my application I access database, MySQL database, and for this I need a username and password. Shortly I can show this. I think it says yeah. So this is a place where I get all these environment variables, keep it in Go specific variable, and then pass it to the application logic, so I can check database and work with database. And that's how you pass these variables, environment variables in Kubernetes. As I said, in this case I have more, so we just check this deployment, but I also have the same application as a cron job. So this is how you define a cron job, and as a normal job. So normal job, it's something that you run once and it turns off. You can specify back-off limits which will be like, if it's failing, it will try 2 times. In case of cron job, you can specify how many times and when you need this application to be executed. You can say like run it each 10 minutes or run it each hour. Since I am handling this case within the application itself, so I have this scheduling embedded in my application, which can be controlled also through the environment variables. So this is like environment variables for keeping this application running. If you want to know more about this, please check this profx.go file. So shortly I'm using this Go language specific channels to listen to system events, and if there is no interruption, this application will be executed like n times or infinite times. And this separation can be specified in environment variable. So basically, if you say that profx run count is 0, it will be executed infinite time. If it's like 5, it will be executed 5 times. But more on this I will probably explain on another video, which is like KM project specific. But in this video, like shortly, that's how you can run Go related application within Kubernetes. The only different part is, like not different, but key point is you have basically an image, Docker image, and then you point your Kubernetes configuration to this image and add some configuration. And in case of web or something that has like exposed port or needs to be executed from outside, you can also specify a service, do some routing, and for simple application, it's like just like a deployment. But all this is like quite simple usage of Kubernetes. There is more like advanced configuration of services and deployments and pods, which is out of this context, out of the context of this video. For this video, that's all. Please check my channel for more information, for more videos I will post on daily basis on development related topics, and also check out repository for source codes and all this documentation, which will be in description of this video. And for now, thanks for watching and see you in next video. Bye bye.